In the Middle East, where tensions remain high, Iran has rejected calls for 3 European countries to stand down its threat to retaliate against Israel, saying that the proposal lacks political logic and contradicts principles of international law. However, according to reports, a Gaza ceasefire deal this week could hold Iran back from direct offensive against Israel. Here's more.
The threat of an Iranian attack on Israel and a wider war in West Asia is far from over, with the Islamic Republic dismissing the Western calls to exercise restraint over the killing of Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh, rather declaring in a statement that it's determined to defend its national security. Reports claim that the attack is expected before the ceasefire talks scheduled for August 15th in Doha or Cairo. Israel remains on peak alert, vowing to strike back even if Tehran's offensive causes no casualties.
We take seriously the remarks and statements by our enemies, and therefore we are at peak preparedness for the attack and defense, and we will act according to the instructions of the political level.
Even the White House outlined its preparedness to defend Israel amid concerns that an attack could come this week.
We have to be prepared for what could be a significant set of attacks, which is why, again, we have increased our force posture and capabilities in the region, even in just the last few days.
To thwart the threat of Iranian assaults, the United States has dispatched a guided missile submarine to West Asia, while an aircraft carrier also is on the way, in addition to the presence of a warship in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, including 2 Navy destroyers. Iran, on the other hand, has reportedly prepped its missile and drone units. While Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah keeps up its offensive, firing 30 rockets into northern Israel in retaliation of the assassination of its senior commander, Fouad Shukr. The Israeli military and the countermeasures continue to intercept the Lebanese strikes on a daily basis. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right, for more on this, we are now being joined by retired Colonel Rich Outzen, Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council and at the Jamestown Foundation. Welcome back to WION, Rich. It seems like tensions are high in the Middle East and continue to be high, and we don't know how Iran wants to react, or honestly, whether Iran will retaliate against Israel. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's good to be with you, Susan. I think based on some statements coming out from Iranian government sources, that they see that this is a leverage for them to have the uncertainty, really. There's 3 or 4 benefits they think accrue to them by waiting on the response. The first is the possibility for negotiating leverage. They think that by implying that they will not retaliate if there's a ceasefire in Gaza, they may push the ball forward on trying to get a ceasefire. Also, there's costs of the alert imposed upon Israel by keeping Israel and the United States, as you heard in the segment, sending naval forces, air forces. That's imposing a cost on the United States to maintain readiness in that region. At some point, Israel may let its guard down. If you wait long enough, they become habituated to the waiting. So I think the Iranians certainly will exact revenge on their terms at some point. It probably an indirect attack on civilians or terror attack, something like that. But there's no cost to them, and certainly there is cost to the targets if they draw it out and wait some.
Right, including U.S. targets. How do you foresee the Biden administration handling all of this? Do you think the United States would go to the defense of Israel as far as maybe a counterattack against Iran should Iran decide to strike?
Well, it's been the administration's policy to try to strike a bit of a balance between the U.S. aligned forces and the Iranians in the Middle East. And so I think they are very loath to attack targets in Iran. And that's one of the reasons I think it's likely Iran will attack some combination of targets, Israeli, Jewish civilians not in Israel, U.S. forces in the region. They can use rockets, mortars, car bombs. They can do it in Syria using the Houthis. I think some combination of those will actually be a very hard thing for the Biden administration to respond to, because they have been loath to directly attack Iran. Now, Iran knows that Biden administration doesn't want direct escalation, and therefore, rather than inviting an attack on some of their regime security apparatus from the United States, if they directly attack Israel, I think they'll play it on the margins. And there's a certain logic to that. And I think the Biden administration will try to deter, but will struggle to respond if the Iranians play it that way.
Okay, well, a lot to watch out for. Retired Colonel Rich Outzen, always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for that analysis.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.